Welcome to Women Entrepreneurs Radio. I'm your host, Deborah Bailey. And when I started this show in 2008, I was on a mission to promote women-owned businesses and help women succeed by providing resources and valuable tips from other women and men, small business owners. In each interview, my guests speak openly about their triumphs, the scary times, and tough decisions they had to make along the way. Women Entrepreneurs Radio is about showing women how to harness their natural strengths to achieve success on their own terms. Hi everyone, welcome to Women Entrepreneurs Radio with your host Deborah Bailey. I am so glad that you could join me today, and if you're listening to this on Apple Podcasts, or you're listening to one of the other platforms, if you're on Spotify, iHeartRadio, you can go to womenentrepreneursecrets.com and you can see a list of the podcast platforms and see if there's a favorite one that you can subscribe to. You could definitely find it there. And also, if you're not Apple Podcasts, it would be great if you could just scroll down and leave some feedback and let us know how you enjoyed the show. That always helps the show to be found by more listeners. And also, if you go to the website, you can also find some posts and different announcements and things of interest to women business owners. And also, you can visit my site, dbaileycoach.com, to find out more about me. So I certainly hope you will do that as well. So we're going to get started today with my guest. Eleanor Beaton is a women's leadership mentor and founder of Fierce Feminine Leadership, an organization that helps ambitious professional women and business owners develop the confidence, presence, political savvy, and influence they need to smash the glass ceiling and take their seats at the tables where the big deals and big decisions are made. And Eleanor is an award-winning journalist and host of the Fierce Feminine Leadership podcast. She's also served as chair of the Visiting Women's Executive Exchange Program at the Yale School of Management. In 2017, she won the prestigious Profiles in Diversity Women Worth Watching Award for her work promoting diversity and inclusion. And she was also named Canada's Leadership Coach of the Year by the 2017 Corporate Excellence Awards. And Eleanor has been privileged to serve some of the country's most recognized women leaders, including Arlene Dickinson, star of CBC's hit show Dragon's Den, and former Canadian First Lady Margaret Trudeau. An international keynote speaker, Eleanor has presented at conferences where rosters include such notables as former U.S. Secretary of State Hillary Rodham Clinton, Oscar-nominated actress Taraji P. Henson, and 23andMe Inc. co-founder Anne Wojcicki. So welcome to the show, Eleanor.
Thank you so much, Deb. I'm so honored to be here with you and your incredible audience.
Well, that is great, and I really am happy to have you here to have this conversation today in these really weird times that we're living in, and we're going to chat today about marketing and keeping your business going during this crisis and adversity, and how everyone seems like they really don't know what they should be doing or how they should be presenting themselves. So, Eleanor, let's just get into the conversation. What are your thoughts about everything that's going on right now?
I know, right? Oh my gosh, how much time do we have? Well, and we have never seen something like this, or rather we haven't in a very, very long time.
Yes.
The IMF, as we're having this conversation, the International Monetary Fund released its report, its global outlook. It was very grim. We have not seen, this kind of economic turbulence since the Great Depression. Mm-hmm. And of course, the biggest story here is just the health impact. So many people who are experiencing coronavirus, who've been impacted by coronavirus, the heroic first responders and healthcare workers. So, while we talk about what's going on with business, I want everyone to understand that I'll bring levity and will bring levity, but we understand and honor and hold space for the challenges, that the very challenges that people are experiencing. So it's unprecedented for our lifetimes. You know, there are very few people alive today who have experienced something like this. So that's for sure. That said, you know, there are many people, many women entrepreneurs who are feeling very uncertain. They are feeling, they don't know, you know, if it's okay to market their business, if they should continue trying to grow their business, if they should step back out of some sense of respect for what's going on. There's a lot of confusion and uncertainty. Haven't you found that?
Oh, for sure. It's really wild because
totally.
Sometimes I'm not even sure what to think because you can go on social media. Sometimes it's best not to be on there.
That's right. I know. Limit the exposure.
Yes, you know, because some people, they're just like whatever comes to their minds and they're just going to send that out there. But some people are joking and trying to keep your spirits up, and other people are annoyed that people are joking. Yeah. And but you have to do something because there's just too much emotion. I think for people to just sit there and be grim. But, you know, for one thing, I've seen a lot of things about like the traditional publishing industry, which of course has been hit very hard. And some advice to writers is just, well, don't market and just kind of lay low. And I'm like, I don't know if that's really the best idea right now, you know? So I think people just don't really know what they should do.
Well, you know, I remember when I was in college, I went to see a guy named Howard Zinn speak. And Howard Zinn was this sort of rebel historian, and he had this great line in his presentation. He said, if you don't know history, you were born yesterday. And I loved that. And I think some of that is applicable here because in fact, there is a large body of research out there about what happens to companies during a recession and how entrepreneurs are able, how the things that they can do to position themselves to weather the storm and to thrive after a recession. Now, as we speak, we're not in a recession yet. That's defined as 2 periods of negative growth. We haven't experienced that, although we are almost certain to. I mean, what we're seeing is unprecedented. But what I find so interesting was 3 different organizations, Harvard Business School, McKinsey and Bain & Company. And McKinsey and Bain & Company are 2 global consulting firms. They each performed pretty in-depth research into how companies fare and recover from recessions. All 3 reports found a similar thing, which is that approximately 9% of companies are able to flourish during a recession. Their revenues climb and they position themselves for rapid growth afterwards. And it's not a function of what they sell. So it's not, you know, we might think that companies like grocery stores or companies that manufacture personal protective wear or masks, that kind of thing, they're going to thrive. Well, yeah, but this research is about sort of thousands of companies over different industries, over multiple recessions. And the question is, what did that 9% do differently? That's what, you know, and that's what we know what the things that they did differently. And so one of the things is that they practice operational efficiency. So they make cuts. They sharpen their pencils. These companies and leaders and entrepreneurs can kind of go through and take a look at your expenses and see, you know, where can I trim? Where can I cut? And for some of you guys who are listening, you're going to have to make deeper cuts than others, you know, but that, you know, you have to be as efficient as you can. But the other side of this is that these 9% of companies, not only did they play some good defense, like they made the cuts, they were trying to be operational efficient, but they played really strong offense. So they invested in marketing. They invested in building their brand. And they invested in research and development, making sure that they were putting offers out into the marketplace that met their consumers where they were. So I will share with listeners, based on thousands of companies over multiple recessions, what we know is that if you want to be in that 9% of companies who flourish and grow quickly after a recession, you have to keep marketing now in the right way.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense because people may freeze and think they can't do anything, and then at some point that's really going to be a problem
Totally.
when they're trying to come back.
As much as we might want to, because I will be honest. There are days, Deb, where it takes a lot of internal resolve and leadership to lead our companies through this time. So there are absolutely days where the last thing that I want to do is get on LinkedIn Live. The last thing that I want to do is write ad copy.
Right.
But you know what? I don't know about you, but when I saw 9%, I was like, guess what? I saw the pie chart. 9%, 91%. I was like, my name has that 9% on it. Or that 9% is my name on it, I should say.
Yeah, that's the way you have to look at it, though, because it could be too easy just to go down that rabbit hole and then you're just never coming back.
Right? You're just never. What's so interesting that I find about what's going on right now as well is, we were talking about social media and I'm hearing from entrepreneurs and clients that I work with, I'm hearing them say things like, there's just so much marketing noise right now. I'm seeing so much information out there. I think people are zoomed out. There's, nobody's going to listen to what I have to say right now. And on the one hand, I get it. I understand where they're coming from, but it's interesting. I started doing some research and I started doing my own investigation to see, like any good coach, we're like, but is that true? And so I started looking, and this is so interesting. People are spending much more time online now than they ever have before. So we're seeing unprecedented time online. We're seeing not only are people spending more time online, but they are engaging more with material that they see and content that they see online. We know that over 90% in a survey of 35,000 consumers, 92% they said they expected companies and brands to continue marketing in the right way. So these are the trends, right? More time online. Consumers expect you to keep marketing, but the interesting thing is that 60% of companies have cut their marketing.
Wow.
So that's the opportunity. It's not the opportunity anybody would ask for. I think so many of us would love to see this crisis be averted, go away. I want to make sure that I'm clear as I say that. But as entrepreneurs, small businesses are the engine of this economy, women entrepreneurs in particular. So if we're going to survive and thrive, it's important for us to see that opportunity for what it is. This is a powerful time to build our brands, to get our companies out in the marketplace, and to serve and to, use that as an opportunity to grow or thrive, or for some entrepreneurs merely survive.
That was a great point. So, looking at that, which companies do you think right now should really be putting a lot into their marketing? Or are there certain industries, do you think, or types of companies?
Ooh, it's such a great question. I actually think another way to look at it is I think any opportunity can benefit from marketing right now. So what's interesting, I think, is to take a look at the impact of this downturn on consumer behavior. So, marketing 101, we all have our target clients, and we're typically like, Lisa is 44 years old. She has an advanced degree in engineering and she has 2 kids and, so we've got our demographics. What's interesting is that during a downturn, our typical buyer, demographics, even if you're selling to companies, even if it's a B2B, situation, they shift into different groups that are based on buying behavior. So you have the slam on the brakes buyers. They just stop buying completely. They don't buy, they're not buying toilet paper. They're just not buying, right? Then you have your pained but patient buyers. And so this is the majority. So they're still buying, they're buying essentials, they're buying treats. They might be delaying some things. Then you have your, you're comfortably well off. That's 5% of the population. Their buying habits have not changed. And you're live for the moments. So here's my point. I think doesn't matter what industry you're in. Unless you're sitting on a stockpile of cash that's going to last you 2 years of business expenses, it's really important to continue marketing. What I think is more important is not what your industry is or what your business is, but how you're marketing. So I have some tips if they'd be useful.
Oh, sure. Great.
So I think the first thing is really make sure that as you look at how you're marketing, as you think about the offers that you're making, make sure that you're clear what the value is, why your buyers should buy now. Is there a reason? Why is it important? Why is your offer something that shouldn't be postponed? Your buyer's always going to make the final decision on that, but if you're not clear on that, they won't be either. And I think that really needs to come through, in the marketing that you're doing. So that's one tip. The other tip I would say is that companies that are most effective right now in their marketing, and again, the research kind of proves this out. Number one, you're really demonstrating leadership. And how do we do it? By understanding where our customers are right now and speaking to them. So an example, let's say you're an HR strategist. Your company does HR consulting, and during peacetime, you're saying, look, I'm going to help you build an incredible people strategy to boost engagement. Well, during this, something like this, you may find that your clientele is not focused on a people strategy. What they're dealing with is the reality of, I have to lay off 25% of my workforce. How do I do this? And how do I do it without killing morale? So it's really taking a look at, you have an opportunity to serve. And so you have to meet your customers and clients where they are. So I think that's really, those are the two kind of really important things, like really demonstrate leadership and really ensure that as you talk about what you're offering, that you are very clear on why it's important now.
That makes so much sense. That's a way that a lot of companies seem to be, I guess you could say in a way, shifting gears, because there's a clothing company that I have gotten some pieces from there online. And then suddenly their thing was, you have Zoom meeting and you want to be comfortable. Well, here's our sets where you have a nice top, but you can have a comfortable pajama type of bottom. And it's
did that have my name on it?
Well,
it's amazing.
I was really, really taken aback because that really spoke to anybody who suddenly had to be on a Zoom meeting right away. If you haven't been doing this and now you're video and I'm at home and maybe you're still trying to catch, your mind's still trying to catch up with all this. And you're like, well, why should I be dressed up? It spoke to all of that. So simply, I said, wow, that is so clever.
So clever. Well, Deb, you know what I'm wearing right now? Because I had an on-camera Zoom meeting before we did this interview. It is business on top. It is yoga pants on the bottom. Okay? It's like, they had us pegged. They know their buyers. They're meeting us where we are.
Yes.
It's levity. We're now talking about them on your podcast.
Yes.
Brilliant marketing. Brilliant. I'll give you another example, and I love, this is a fun game. I saw, one of my, a coach on my team posted inside a Facebook group that we run this amazing workshop. So a photographer, a portrait photographer whose business would have dried up completely, right now as for the last month and potentially for the foreseeable future. So she, it was hosting, a online workshop. It was $50 and you could register and she would teach you how to take, professional portrait quality pictures as selfies with your iPhone.
Wow.
Right? And again, because anybody who's doing online marketing, if you're, you run out of pictures fast. You run out of pictures fast, like you got to get your pictures. Again, she knew, and she was so creative. There is opportunity for that. And it's, what's so interesting? That whole thing of, so there's more research of 1,000 consumers. 1,000 consumers were surveyed, and they said that they were actually paying more attention to marketing now. So not only are we spending more time online, consumers want small businesses to market. They expect it. They're paying more attention to marketing messages. I think, look, if Deb and I haven't convinced you that you need to keep marketing, I mean, we're working hard here. Just kidding. We're very objective. We're very objective.
Oh my God. But it's true. You just have to,
right?
You're paying more attention, and that is so true, because, certain ways that people are coming across, and you're like, oh, okay, that's an interesting way to frame that. I hadn't thought of it that way before. Maybe just not paying attention because you had a bunch of other things to do, but now it's your kind of, okay.
That's right. Suddenly, we're finding all kinds of time. We're finding all kinds of time that we didn't know we had.
Right. That's another interesting thing, that suddenly it's like, oh, you were going to do that once you've had time, and here you are. So.
Yeah. I know, right? But to your point, it's so interesting. So one of the things that I have found lately is that, as we do have, it's so interesting because the weekends, like for instance, the weekends I find fascinating. So you can't, during the week I'm working and nothing much has changed in that perspective. I have a virtual business. It wasn't, impacted in the way that I couldn't serve my customers or meet with my team. The weekends are a different story. I'm at my home with my 2 sons and my husband. We can't go anywhere. So there's periods of intense boredom where I'm typically finding something quite productive to do. But what's interesting is this weekend I really started taking a look at marketing funnels that I had. And I really sort of took them out and took a look at them and was polishing them and revisiting them and just making sure that seeing if there was anything that needed to be fine-tuned. And I think that's something else, if you are an entrepreneur who does have time now, how about taking a look at, are there marketing assets that you have that you could polish up, that you could, make more compelling, you could sharpen the message, you could, these are all things that we can be doing right now because, we're laughing and because what else are we going to do really? But small businesses, some of them are in a street fight right now. Yeah. So let's bring, let's bring it. Let's bring our A game everywhere we can.
So what would you think or way that the companies can craft that kind of message right now? Is there any way that people can really find that or make sure they're doing it in a way that's not alarming?
Yeah, that's right. Exactly. So I advise against having red alert symbols. A pro tip that I'd like to offer. So I love that question. And yes, there are a few ways. So quite practically, a great exercise that I think we should do this all the time, but especially now, is to ask this question worded in exactly this way. And you can, all you need, I think, are to send this out to 6 clients or customers or potential clients or customers. If you have a Facebook group, if you have a database, there's different ways that you can ask this question, but it's this. If you had 30 minutes to sit down with me today, what would be the most relevant question or the most burning question you would ask me about? So if you're in the health field, your health. For me, for us, it would be your business, you're choosing whatever. What would be the burning question you would have for me today, this week, this month? And people will tell you. They will tell you exactly, what it is. So I saw from the very beginning a lot of questions around, is it appropriate to market right now? Should I cut my prices right now? Should I stop selling right now? So you take those questions and you answer them. And you provide a clear call to action. So you answer the question, you share your very clear message about what you do, and you provide a call to action. That's it. It can really be that simple. And what you're doing is you're meeting your customers and clients where they are. Like that clothing company met you where you are, which is, okay, I'm doing a ton of Zoom. I need to look good on the top, but I can be comfortable on the bottom. You know? So that would be my advice.
Yeah, that's a great idea, actually, because then people can find out directly, what people are thinking, what's their concerns, and then you can address that instead of trying to guess, which a lot of times I think is what happens. People
totally, right? Totally.
Think they know what someone really wants, and that's not really the right way to go about it. I think so. I think that's perfect. I've noticed also on television a lot of brands are kind of, we know what you're going through and all this. And I'm like, but once you've heard it many, many times,
I know.
Almost like,
it's like after the 585th, here's our COVID response email. And I'm like, and these are big companies, and I'm like, who in the heck is running your marketing department? Put them in my program. But here's why. Because, marketing 101, your customers don't really care about your COVID response. They care about their COVID situation, right? So I love that was such a genius point that you made, because there's so much of that around right now. And it's, I haven't read one of those emails. Have you?
I read two, and they sounded just alike, and they're from two different companies.
Like, we care. Let me guess. It was here. We care about you. We're here to serve you. We're taking care of our employees, and we're making the best. And it's like, oh my gosh, they need to come talk to us, Deb. Really.
I was like, is there a template somewhere? Just using.
There is. I just shared it. You know what? We should cut that out and sell that. Oh my goodness. Really? Yeah.
I was, oh my God, because what does it mean now? Because the same words are like, and everybody's saying the same thing, but what does that mean? And you get tired of seeing that because you're really not sure what is that supposed to mean now?
Yeah, and I think, and it's so interesting, because I think what happens, in challenging times or even in great times, a company's biggest enemy when it comes to marketing is noise. And so that here's our COVID response becomes noise. And there are ways to, so for instance, if you own a salon, or if you own, if you own something, if you own a restaurant and you're doing takeout, I think that, if you're concerned about how we're keeping everything pristine to deliver safe takeout, read this. And so then you could go through, here's exactly what we're doing to keep everything safe and clean for you guys. And, if you'd like to order from us, here's how you do it. You know what I mean? That's effective. Here's our COVID response is not effective.
Yeah, it starts to all look the same, and it's not really saying a whole lot if it sounds just like the last 10 emails you got, because they're using all the same language, and it's like, that's nice, but
exactly.
Yeah, they're not really doing what they think they're doing, I guess is the problem.
Yes. Exactly.
Oh my gosh. So Eleanor, please share where people can find out more about you.
Oh, thank you. So I think if you love this incredible show, I think you might want to check out Fierce Feminine Leadership, which is my podcast. And if you are, curious about tips to help you market more effectively at this time, you can check out adversitymarketing.com.
I think that's something a lot of people are going to come out of this maybe with a better understanding of how to weather all these different situations. Because,
well, that's my hope. because I know that they don't care about our COVID response.
Exactly.
We wouldn't do that to you guys. We know that, what's important to you is to weather the storm, to do the best you can, and maybe, just maybe, to be in that 9% of companies who are able to flourish through the downturn and rebound faster. We know that companies that market effectively now actually grow 8 to 9 times faster than their competitors after a recession is over. So there's a major argument to continue being present and to continue marketing through adversity.
That's true. And I think there's definitely going to be shakeups in types of ways that business is being done, which is what a lot of people are kind of saying, that they wonder, how are things going to go back to quote unquote normal, or what the new normal is going to be. And I think that's also very interesting right now from a business perspective. And, I was mentioning about publishing and the traditional publishing, depending on like bookstores and things like that. But meanwhile, you have a lot of self-publishers who are doing their thing because they mostly have ebooks. So, or, audiobooks, there's a lot of potential, and of course podcasts. There's other ways to reach people that I'm wondering now, maybe as we go, people may start to think, oh, okay, maybe this is another world I need to get more into, because I wasn't focused on that before, because I didn't have to focus on it.
Yeah.
And,
So, that's such a great point, because, and it's what do we as entrepreneurs do? We drive innovation, we solve problems, we turn lemons into lemonade. That is the entrepreneurial thing. So that's a genius point.
It's going to be interesting. Hopefully everything comes out of this, relatively soon, so that's definitely the hope. But, I definitely think there's going to be some changes. But, one more question for you before we wrap up. Do you think, as far as a small business owner, is there any way that they should make sure that they're not delivering a message in a way that's really going to make them look bad? And
that is a great question. That's a great question. And I think there's a couple of things to consider. So I think you want to ask yourself, am I serving my audience right now? So we know that because during, when it comes to marketing now, it's really important to be serving your audience, to be really demonstrating your brand values, and to be optimistic, but not over the top. And so I think that is, so, right off the top in our conversation, here's an example, right off the top in our conversation, we acknowledge the challenge that people are experiencing. And we spoke to that. And I think that's very important, because it allows, as we move on and laugh and, we're talking about different things, we're doing that in the context of acknowledgement, of what's going on worldwide. Yes, we know this is a challenge. Yes, we understand people are really suffering right now. Yes, we know that there is the global pandemic, and we honor that. And and we're going to have a conversation that is for small business owners. We are going to laugh and find joy and light to the degree that we can right now. You know what I'm saying? So I think that how we've kind of had our conversation is how I would advise. So we are, we are being true. We're serving our audiences. We are living our brand values. We are being optimistic, but not over the top.
That's great advice. It really is, because I definitely found myself looking at YouTube like kitten videos.
Right? I know. It's this, it's this human experience right now. It's a global human experience. It's just unbelievable.
Exactly. And I think that we all, in a way, we have to lift ourselves up as well, and others where we can at the same time. As you said, as we acknowledge, the heaviness of everything that's going on. So, Eleanor, this has been, of course, a fantastic conversation. And do you have any final thoughts or anything you'd like to say before we end?
Yeah, I would love to say this, what we know is that during times of crisis, we as women are made for this. During 2008, there were unprecedented number of women who were promoted into very senior leadership roles. And I think it's because during challenge and during adversity, women we have the skill, we have the empathy, we have the leadership, we have the vision, we have the connective ability to lead so effectively through this. And so I know that as entrepreneurs, you've got so much going on right now. You are really experiencing and leading through a lot of adversity right now. And I just take my hat off to each and every one of you who's listening, and to you, Deb, as women entrepreneurs. We're doing a lot right now. We're balancing a lot right now. And I think we need to offer each other support and celebration and give each other and ourselves a ton of grace as well.
That's very true. And Eleanor, I want to thank you so much for sharing that message and for this wonderful conversation. And, just for being here and just talking about this topic. I really appreciate it very much, and I really enjoyed having you here.
Thank you so much.
So everyone, I know you enjoyed this show. Please share it on social media, share it with your friends, and definitely listen to Eleanor's podcast and check out her websites and see what you can do as far as your business and things that you're working on. And, we can just kind of help each other through this time that we're going through at this time. So once again, it's been your host, Deborah Bailey of Women Entrepreneurs Radio. Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you again next time. Bye-bye. Thanks for joining us. You can also join in the conversation on Facebook.com/Women Entrepreneurs and on the website, WomenEntrepreneurSecrets.com. And don't forget to listen in on dvcoach.podomatic.com and on iTunes.